Hello and welcome to the inaugural episode of Nifty Ninty, the podcast where we will be breaking down everything Nintendo every week. I am your host, Matt Tuna, yes, like the fish, Turner. Now, before we get started, a few caveats. I'm doing this completely out of my own pocket, so I don't have any fancy equipment as of yet. Also, I happen to be living in a shared space, so if it sounds like I'm speaking quietly or close to the mic, it's because I am. Currently, it is Friday night where I am. I am located in Southeast Asia. I'm not going to tell you where. Just know, Southeast Asia. Moving forward, I think I would like to record these on Saturday night my time so that I don't miss the Friday daytime news in the Americas. I have a feeling that there isn't going to be a lot of news this week. I'm looking at you, Game Freak and Pokemon Company. You better not drop something on the weekend. But as I do live with a bunch of people, including a roommate, I figured I would take the opportunity with everybody out of the place to do this episode tonight on Friday. Now, how about a little bit about your host? As I mentioned before, my name is Matt Tuna, like the fish, Turner, and I am an avid gamer. I've owned almost every single console since the NES. However, my first console was the Nintendo Game Boy. My parents bought that for me when I was just a wee lad, and I would spend many a road trip playing that thing. Shortly after the Game Boy, my parents bought me a Super Nintendo. It is at this point that I fell in love with Nintendo. Super Mario World, Zelda, Mario Kart, not to mention the fantastic lineup of JRPGs that came out during that era. Thinking about it fondly brings a tear to my eye. I'm kidding. I have always been a staunch supporter of Nintendo. Even during the console wars of the 16-bit era, I would grill my friends for getting a Sega Genesis, even though I was secretly jealous of the fact that they got blood in Mortal Kombat. Anyways, enough about me. For this week's podcast, the format is going to be fairly simple. This is just to get something out so people can view this, hear this, allow me to get comfortable as a host. So this week the format will just be news and then run down some of the releases over the last week. And yeah, that's really about it. When it comes to length for these podcasts, I was thinking somewhat close to an hour. However, I'm not entirely sure. I have a feeling this one will be shorter than normal, just as it is the first. Moving forward, I would like to have guests on the show. I will be setting up a Skype account. People can phone in. I will be opening it up to questions and being as involved with you guys as possible. So hopefully you enjoy. If there are things you would like to see moving forward, I would appreciate your comments down below in the video, what you want to see more of, what you want to see less of. Maybe you want me to do game reviews in the future. If that's the case, let me know which games. Obviously, because this is a Nintendo podcast, let's keep it Nintendo. However, we can go as far back as NES games if you would like, or all the way up to current games on the Switch. That would include third party. If it is available on a Nintendo platform and you want me to review it, I can do that. Why don't we get on with this week's topics? Let's start with the news. This week's top story is Resident Evil 7 is coming to the Switch. That's right, you heard it. Resident Evil 7 is coming to Nintendo Switch. However, it's not quite like you think it's going to be. Capcom is bringing Resident Evil to the Switch. However, it will be streaming from the cloud. They felt this was the best way to deliver this game to the Nintendo Switch. Basically, you will be streaming the game like you would a movie off of Netflix. They will be offering a 15-minute demo shortly, if not this week. Capcom felt that the Switch couldn't run Resident Evil 7, but they still wanted the game on the Switch. They've been happy with the Switch. They just released Mega Man, which we will get into later. They've also they are about to release a Monster Hunter game on the Switch, which is a remake of Double Cross. And they felt that Resident Evil 7 was lacking, so they're bringing it to the Switch. albeit a streaming version, which means you can't really play it on the go. Resident Evil 7 Cloud, as I'm calling it, released in Japan this week. No word yet on when it's coming stateside, but it is available in Japan. If you have a Japanese account on your Switch, it's free to do. You can go do it right now if you want, or maybe after the podcast. You can go and download it, but it doesn't really work if you're outside of Japan or perhaps the East Asia region, and that's because there are no servers here for it. So you can download it, you can load it up, but it's incredibly slow and choppy and doesn't really work. There will be a 15-minute demo coming at some point in time stateside. I don't know when. I still think if Capcom was willing to take the time, they probably could have done this as a package title, but I have a feeling they wanted to get Resident Evil out there to the Switch gamers so bad that this is what they did kind of as a workaround. The big question is if this is successful as a cloud-based service, a streaming game, what does this mean for games going forward? Does this mean we could potentially see Monster Hunter World on the Switch in the same capacity? Or perhaps other larger games? Now you're probably wondering, what does all this cost? Basically, it's a subscription. You are paying $120 a year for the game, plus all the DLC that came for PC, Xbox One, sorry, and PS4. And you have to continue paying that if you wish to keep your game, because your game save is also in the cloud. So if you want to continue to play your game, you have to continue to pay. Now, for some people, this might be okay because, hey, you bought the game, you played it, you beat it, you don't need to pay for it anymore. If this is successful and becomes the model moving forward, what does this mean for other games, other systems? I know Xbox One was dabbling in game streaming, and if you think about it, PlayStation already does this. They have streaming games on their console. Does this mean no more game preservation? Does this mean we're at a point where in the near future we will no longer own our games? What does that do to collectors? I know for myself, I like to have the game box. I like to have the physical game. And it's happening slowly. Even this week's Mega Man. You buy the collection, 1 and 2, you only get the physical copy of 1. You have to go download number 2. What do you guys think? Would you guys play this game? Would you guys pay a subscription every year to keep your save game? Would you buy the minimum, try and race through it as quickly as possible? What do you guys think this means for game preservation, for collectors? Well, do you want to see more of this in the future? Let me know in the comments below. Alright, moving on to the next story. This one is for Splatoon 2. Splatoon 2 is getting a limited edition soundtrack to coincide with the Project Octopath, that's something else, Square Enix, for the upcoming DLC for Splatoon 2. This soundtrack contains all the music from the Octo expansion coming to Splatoon 2. The limited edition also contains a Blu-ray with live performances. You can't see, but I'm doing air quotes for live performances from the 2 hosts from Off the Hook, which everybody loves, as well as the Squid Sisters. Alright, moving on. Next, we have some news for Mario & Rabbids Kingdom Battle. The Banana Slammer himself, Donkey Kong, is coming to join the fight in some brand new DLC. There is no release date yet, but I believe it is coming early summer. The DLC includes Donkey Kong and 2 Rabbids. One is Cranky. He takes over the role of the little Roomba, as well as Peach. You get an island with 4 new environments, and it adds about 10 hours of extra gameplay. Donkey Kong gets 2 weapons. One is a banana that he can throw like a boomerang, and the Donkey Kongas are back. He uses them to draw enemies closer so that he can banana slam them. In the trailer, you'll see that Donkey Kong also has some new abilities where he can vine swing across pretty much the entire map, which could come in handy, especially since he's such a powerful character. There's also a bunch of new enemies that populate the new environments, so if you're a big fan of Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle, then I guess this would be a good one to pick up. Personally, I haven't played it. I'm a big fan of XCOM and the turn-based strategy, but I'm holding out for Advance Wars because that's what I really want to see. Come on, Nintendo, bring Advance Wars back. Alright, now, as I said, this is a Nintendo-centric podcast, and that includes everything Nintendo. So, we have an update for Pokemon Go. For those of you still playing Pokemon Go, yes, I'm one of them, some of the Alola region Pokemon will be coming to the mobile hit game. Those Pokemon include the Alola forms of Rattata, Raticate, Raichu, Sandshrew, Sandslash, Vulpix, Ninetales, Meowth, Persian, Diglett, Dugtrio, Geodude, Graveler, Golem, Grimer, Muk, Executor, Executor, what is it? Let me know. And Marowak. This update is scheduled to come out in the next couple of weeks. It is currently unknown how to obtain the Alola forms of these Pokemon. My guess is maybe you get them in raids. Maybe there is a new item like an evolutionary stone or something that allows you to update your Pokemon into the Alola forms. Or maybe you just have to spend extra candy. Who knows? What are your thoughts? Do you actually want the Alola forms in your Pokemon Go? Are you excited for this? Sound off in the comments below. This next bit of news really only concerns people who live in Japan, as Nintendo has decided to sell a dockless Switch in Japan only. Basically, it is the tablet, 2 Joy-Con, and that is about it. It doesn't contain a dock, an HDMI, or a power cable, or the Joy-Con grip. The idea behind this is for people who already own a Switch and perhaps want a second one. Maybe they want to leave their main Switch, whatever you want to call it, in their dock at home, or perhaps they have kids at home and they want to buy an extra Switch for them, and they already have the dock and the power cable and all that stuff, and they don't really need it. And I think that's what Nintendo's thinking. It does retail for about 45 USD cheaper than the complete Switch bundle. Personally, I wouldn't buy this. I bought the main bundle when it came out. I understand why they did this, just as a second unit, or perhaps just a solely portable system. However, that kind of bites into the 3DS a little bit. What do you think? Would you buy a second Switch? I mean, maybe. I guess I don't think so though. It'd be nice to have, especially now that you can transfer saves over from one Switch to the other, or maybe not saves so much. I know that's coming, but your profile from one Switch to the other. So I guess it'd be nice to have in case one gets stolen or lost. Or if you want to have one dedicated to home and one dedicated to portability. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know. Our final bit of news this week comes as Nintendo files a trademark hinting at an N64 Mini. The trademark they filed is very similar to what we saw with the SNES and Super Famicom Minis. It basically is a trademark application that is listed to cover purposes including video game program, controller, joystick, and download-capable electronic game programs. More often than not, these applications are filed in order to simply maintain control of a company's intellectual property rather than release anything new. However, as I said, it is very similar to what we saw before the SNES Mini was announced. Perhaps E3 will see an N64 Mini. If there is an N64 Classic, what games would you like to see? I know personally my favorites would be Super Mario 64, Smash Bros, Ocarina of Time, Wave Race. Man, the list could go on and on. Speaking of lists, How about we do this? How about you put in the comments, or better yet, you can go follow me on Twitter. Shameless plug. Follow me on Twitter at Ninty, and perhaps I'll put a poll up. We can see what you guys think. What games do you want to see on an N64 Mini? Do you think one's coming? Do you think we'll see one at E3? Let me know. Let me know what you think. What are your top? Okay, let's say what are your top 12? Let's keep it at 12 because these games are bigger. They require a little more hardware. Not to mention there's a whole host of licensing issues. However, let's forget the licensing issues. What games do you want to see on an N64 Classic? We'll say 12. I'll put a poll on the Twitter page, or you can sound off in the comments below. Let me know what you think. I'll put my 12 up as well. Alright, and that is it for the top news this week. I think the one that excites me the most is the potential for an N64 Mini. Let me know what you're most excited about. Some of you might be looking forward to Resident Evil 7, even though it is a subscription-based service. Personally, I'm a huge fan of retro games. My logo, which I created myself, so it's very crude. It's even done in pixel art, so yes, I like classic games. The N64 Classic would excite me to no end. Anyways, what are you looking forward to? What are you excited about? Let me know in the comments below. Let's move on to this week's new releases. We've got a couple big ones that have come out, and then a host of Nindies. So why don't we tackle the Nindies first? Alright, those Nindies include 6180 The Moon, Atom Mine, Dungeon Rushers, a pinball game with dinosaurs called Jurassic Pinball. We have Punch Club, Zenbound 2, and Pixel Junk Monsters 2. We also get another Arcade Archives game in the form of Icky, and another Neo Geo arcade classic in the form of Top Players Golf. For you 3DS fans, we're getting Dylan's Dead Heat Breakers, which looks like a lot of fun, and an odd one, because I'm pretty sure that the Wii U is not really played so much anymore, but Cycle of Eternity Space Anomaly is coming to the Wii U. It looks cool. Not cool enough for me to dust off my Wii U, but if you only have a Wii U, then hey, this one's for you. In terms of bigger titles this week, we have a Dodgeball remix, which could be fun. We also have Runner 3, which is the third game in the Endless Runner series. I have a demo for Sushi Strikers, which I have played. I'll talk about that a little bit more later. We also have a 8-bit style Metroidvania game called Bloodstain: Curse of the Moon. It looks really cool. Again, big fan of retro games. Haven't had a chance to play this, but I really want to. Basically, it is from the same guys who did Mighty Number 9, so it is a bit of a ripoff of Castlevania. It's short, but you control 4 characters, so you could probably play through the game 4 different times, which would extend its playtime. But the release I'm most excited about this week, again because I love retro games, is the Mega Man Legacy Collection 1 and 2. Before we get to Mega Man, let's touch on Sushi Strikers. Man, I can't say that. Sushi Strikers. Alright. It is a puzzle game. I downloaded the demo, I did play through it. It was a longer demo than I thought it would be for what it is. I was really looking forward to this game when it was announced last year, mostly because the music just was so cool. I loved it. It's a playful manga art style. You choose a male or a female character, and basically it is the Republic versus the Empire, and you battle it out by eating sushi and flinging plates at your enemy. There are some light RPG elements in it, but you're pretty much on a linear path. I imagine in the end you will conquer the Empire and free the world of the sushi famine. It's not really a spoiler, by the way. It sets up right at the beginning of the game. It says, "The world is out of fish." The demo is definitely worth checking out, especially ahead of the game's release. So if you are looking for some quick puzzle fun on the go, and you want to spend about 45 minutes in a demo, go for it. Download it. Alright, the title I'm most excited about, Mega Man. Mega Man Legacy Collection 1 and 2 came out this week. You can download both individually or as a package. You can also go to the store. Yes, stores still exist. You can go to the store and buy them together as well. You buy the cartridge for Legacy Collection 1 and it comes with a download code for Legacy Collection 2. Legacy Collection 1 contains all the NES era Mega Mans. Legacy Collection 2, all the Mega Man games since then up until Mega Man X, because that is a different collection. Now, if you've never played Mega Man before, this would be a good way to start. It is an incredibly difficult game. I've only ever beaten a few of them, and to be honest with you, the Mega Man X series is probably my favorite out of all the Mega Man games out there. However, I'm still equally as excited for this. I will definitely be picking this up very soon and racing through it as quickly as possible. There's a ton of games in here. Between the two collections, you have 10 adventures with the Blue Bomber. 10. This is leading up to the release of Mega Man 11, I'm sure. As I mentioned before, you have the first 6 NES on Legacy Collection 1, and then you have 7, 8, 9, and 10 on Legacy Collection 2. Legacy Collection 1 contains a rewind function, which I'm sure will be hard not to use. But those games are so hard. So hard, especially the first one. It's so unforgiving. Not only that, but these games are pretty much the original code. There's frame rate slowdown, all the same glitches you used to exploit on the NES. Oh, I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun. Are you guys as excited as I am for the Mega Man Legacy Collection? If I had to choose my top 3 Mega Man games that would be in these 2 boxes, I guess it's just one box really, I'd have to go with, I think Mega Man 9. It came out on the 360, the PS3, the Wii. I played it on the Wii. I played through it on the Wii. It was a lot of fun. So that would probably be number 3. It really brought back the feel of the original NES games. I know that the upcoming Mega Man 11 is newer, sleeker, closer to the SNES, 32-bit, 32X era type of Mega Man games. But when Mega Man 9 and then 10 came out, it was good. It included all the same programming glitches that you'd find in the NES era games. Anyways, I digress. I think my number 2 favorite Mega Man game would be Mega Man 4. And this is probably no surprise to anyone, but my favorite Mega Man game that would be on these 2 collections would be Mega Man 2. Why don't you let me know your favorite Mega Man games? Which ones are you looking forward to the most? Which ones don't you want to play ever again? I know I'm excited to rip through this title, so maybe you're not, and that's fine. Alright, well, that's it. That's all I have. At this point in time, I'd probably be taking questions. There will be links in the video below. I have a Twitter. Check it out at Nifty Ninty. If you wanna get in touch with me directly, that's probably the best way. I also have a GoFundMe and a Patreon. So please, if you like this and you want to see more, please donate or subscribe. It would really help me out. As I'm doing this completely out of pocket, it would be great to have the ability to buy a microphone so that I'm not just talking aimlessly at my computer. The audio will actually be decent. Also, probably allow me some studio time, maybe, or just the ability to get away from the people I live with so that I can take more time and be a little more animated with this, just because I do live with people. I have to respect their space, so I'm not able to be loud. I have to work around their schedules, so a little extra money would help with that. It would also help with time. I do have a job. It'd be nice to be able to do something like this a little more full-time, a little more focused for you guys. Give me a little bit more time to put the video together, do a little bit better research into news stories. If you do want to see me do game reviews, it would help me immensely in purchasing those games because I don't have any sponsorship. Nintendo, if you're listening, or Capcom, EA, anyone, hello. I would love to do some reviews for you, media, that sort of thing. Yeah, so those links are below, Patreon and GoFundMe. And yeah, also, I want to know your feedback. I'll be reading it all, taking it all seriously, and evolving this show as time goes on. So please do provide your feedback. And yes, thank you for listening to the first episode of Nifty Ninty. I am your host, Matt Tuna, like the fish, Turner. Thank you, and I'll see you again in a week.